The forest around Camp Crystal Lake had never forgotten violence. It remembered every scream swallowed by the trees, every body dragged beneath black water, every footstep that never found its way back. Even after the cabins collapsed and the camp faded into rumor, the land remained awake, watchful, patient, as though it knew something would return. The lake began to churn. Dark water rippled outward as a massive shape rose from below. First came the mask, slick with algae and shadow, then shoulders broad enough to block moonlight itself. The figure did not gasp for air. It did not shiver. It simply stood, water cascading from its frame as the forest bent inward around him. The caretaker of the lake had come home. Every step carried weight, yet made no sound. The ground seemed to accept him, to recognize what he was. This place was bound to him by blood and memory, and tonight something had disturbed that bond. A presence had crossed into the woods and left behind a trail that did not smell like fear. It smelled like defiance. Miles away, another figure moved through the same darkness with a very different rhythm. Logan crouched beside the remains of a rotted cabin, fingers brushing splintered wood and rusted nails. His senses painted a picture no report could explain. Decades of violence layered on top of one another, all circling the same stretch of land. Victims vanished. Stories contradicted themselves. Time meant nothing here. One name kept surfacing. Jason Voorhees. Logan exhaled slowly through his nose. He had chased legends before. Most turned out to be men hiding behind myths. Some were worse. Whatever ruled this place had survived fire, bullets, and time itself. That alone made it worth finding. The forest felt wrong. Animals stayed silent. Wind refused to pass through certain paths. Even his heightened senses felt resisted, as if the woods were choosing what he was allowed to know. Then he caught it. The faint stench of decay, iron and stagnant water. Old, persistent, not moving. This wasn't a hunter that roamed. This was something that waited. Deeper in the trees, the masked figure tilted his head. Not curiosity, recognition. The intrusion was real now. The forest had accepted trespassers before. Screaming, running, begging. But this one moved with purpose. This one did not flee. This one belonged to violence just as much as the land did. The machete rested easily in a massive grip as the giant began to move. Branches shifted without breaking. Shadows bent around him rather than revealing him. The forest did not hide its guardian. It announced him in ways only predators noticed. Logan stopped walking. The smell had grown stronger. He closed his eyes, listening beyond sound. No heartbeat, no breath. Yet something immense stood nearby, pressing against the world without belonging to it. Logan had fought machines that thought like men and men who thought they were gods. This felt different. There was no ambition here, only persistence. A branch snapped behind him. Logan turned slowly, muscles coiled, eyes cutting through the darkness. Moonlight filtered between the trees, revealing a towering silhouette ahead. The hockey mask caught the light, its empty eye holes reflecting nothing back. For the first time, the two legends stood face to face. The figure from the lake did not rush. He did not threaten. He simply stood, unmoving, as if measuring a force rather than prey. Logan met the stare without flinching, posture loose but ready, like a wolf refusing to bare its throat. Silence stretched between them. Then the machete lifted slightly, not as a strike, but as acknowledgement. Metal answered metal. 6 claws slid free with a sharp, unmistakable sound that cut through the trees like a declaration. Not fear, not warning, a challenge. The ground beneath them seemed to tremble, as if the land itself understood what was coming. One bound to this place by death and rage, the other forged by war, loss, and an unbreakable will to survive. This was not a hunt. This was an inevitability. And the forest, which had witnessed countless endings, prepared itself to witness something far more dangerous, a beginning. The forest broke first. A blur of motion tore through the trees as the man with claws lunged forward, closing the distance in a heartbeat. The silence shattered under the force of impact, as metal met flesh, with a sound like tearing steel. Adamantium raked across the mask, sparks exploding into the night as the blow sent the towering figure staggering back through a dead pine. Wood splintered, bark flew. The giant recovered instantly. A massive hand clamped around Logan's throat, lifting him off the ground with inhuman strength. The grip was cold, unyielding. Wrong. Wolverine snarled, claws driving upward, carving deep trenches across the attacker's chest. Flesh split, bone showed, then began to knit back together before his eyes. That made Logan smile. The grip tightened. He drove a knee into the giant's ribs, felt something crack, twisted free, and landed hard on his feet. No hesitation, no fear, only momentum. He surged forward again, carving upward, downward, sideways, each strike precise and lethal by any mortal standard. The figure refused to fall. The machete came down like a falling tree. Logan barely twisted aside as the blade buried itself in the ground where his head had been. The impact split the earth, sending shockwaves through the clearing. He slashed at the arm holding the weapon, severing muscle and sinew. The limb dropped uselessly for a moment, then began to move again. The dead did not stay dead here. A heavy boot crashed into Logan's chest, launching him backward through a cluster of saplings. He hit the ground hard, bones snapping, lungs emptying. Pain flared and faded just as quickly as his body forced itself back together. He rose to one knee, eyes locked on the advancing shape. So that's how it is, Logan muttered. The giant charged. This time the collision was cataclysmic. Fists like sledgehammers slammed into Logan, each blow strong enough to pulp a normal man. Wolverine answered with relentless fury, claws plunging deep into shoulders, spine, neck, anywhere vital. It did not matter. Nothing stayed vital long enough. They crashed through the forest like colliding storms. Trees fell, rocks shattered. The lake trembled as the fight carried them closer to the shoreline. Every strike from the machete carved trenches through earth and air. Every counterattack from Wolverine left pieces of flesh scattered across the ground, only for those pieces to pull themselves back together. Logan leapt, driving all 6 claws straight into the chest of his opponent, and riding the force of the impact down into the dirt. He pushed deeper, snarling, forcing the blades through bone until the tips burst out the back. For a moment the giant stopped moving. The forest seemed to exhale. Then a hand wrapped around Logan's forearm. The grip crushed metal. Adamantium groaned. Before Logan could react, he was slammed headfirst into the ground again and again, the world flashing white with each impact. The giant rose, dragging him across the dirt, then hurled him straight into the lake. Water swallowed him. Cold darkness closed in as Logan sank, vision blurring. Shapes moved beneath the surface. Old shapes, wrong shapes. He kicked hard, claws extending, driving himself upward. A massive shadow descended from above. The impact drove them both deeper. Underwater, the strength advantage became terrifying. The giant pinned Logan against the lake bed, hands locking around his throat once more. Wolverine slashed wildly, claws tearing through mask, through face, through skull. Bubbles of dark ichor filled the water as bone cracked and split. Still the grip did not loosen. Logan's lungs burned, his vision dimmed. Regeneration fought, but oxygen was something even his healing factor could not replace fast enough. The grip tightened. With a final surge of strength, Logan drove his claws straight up through the giant's head, anchoring himself, forcing space. He kicked free, rocketing toward the surface, gasping as he broke through into air. Behind him, the lake erupted. The figure rose from the water once more, mask shattered, face mangled beyond recognition, yet standing. The machete emerged with him, raised high, glistening with lake water and moonlight. They stood on opposite shores now, soaked, ruined, unyielding. Logan's body was already healing, but slower now. Fatigue crept into his bones. This thing did not tire, did not slow, did not hesitate. The giant stepped forward. So did Wolverine. They met one final time at the edge of of the lake. Fury against inevitability. Claws plunged deep into the torso again, anchoring Logan close. The machete drove down, impaling him through the shoulder, pinning him to the ground. Another strike followed, then another, each blow burying him deeper into the earth. Logan roared, slashing upward, carving the mask completely away. What stared back was not rage, not pain, only purpose. The giant wrapped both hands around Wolverine's head and twisted. There was a sickening crack. The body went still. The forest fell silent once more. The towering figure rose, releasing the broken form at his feet. Slowly, inevitably, regeneration would begin again. But not here, not now. The lake rippled behind him as he turned away, disappearing into the trees. Camp Crystal Lake had chosen its champion, and the forest remembered everything.